Shutterstock Music.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Black College Experience. I am Derek Thomas, one half of your Black College Experience team here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we have the founder and creator of Black College Experience in Atlanta, the one and only Keisha Kelly.
Hi, everybody. I am fresh off the road from Alabama, fresh from home. When I say clean off the road, I literally mean I walked in the door, dropped my bags, and was like, hey, let's roll, literally. And for people that don't know, I cannot do a show without calling my mother, telling my mom I made it back safe.
Yes,
so
indeed.
luckily my mom called me before, maybe like 6:15. She said, where are you? I said, Mom, I'm back. But my mom will not let me rest until she knows that I am back safe where I'm supposed to be. But I am back. Was a great weekend to say the least. It's always good to see family. It's always good to be in the mix of family and get away, take a break from your normal routine, the hustle and bustle of everyday life. So it was good to be home.
Yes, indeed. And Kels, you know what? I have the same problem you have when I'm on the road with my mom. I could be just getting into Baton Rouge, not even cross the city line. And she's calling, are you home yet? That's just how moms are. I'm grateful to have a mother that checks on me the way that she does.
Right.
That's just a mother's love.
Correct. And we do. We, even though we're like, oh, God, what do they want now? Why are they calling? We're grateful to have, have our parents to still call, because in my situation and yours, we don't have our fathers to call us anymore. We still have our moms, and we don't have our fathers. And there are some people that don't have either to call. So, I do. Oftentimes I think about, it happens, and just be grateful that we still have them around to call, because one day, very well so, it could be that we don't have them around. And then it's going to be like, oh, I wish I still had my parents to pick up the phone and call and ask me, have you made it there yet?
Right. It's funny you say that, because a good friend of mine, who's a Jackson State grad, Tommy Harris, she's in that situation where she doesn't have her mother and her father. And I often see her post where she talks about her family, her mom and her father. And it hits home when I think about that. I'm like, wow, I wouldn't know when my father passed, when both my father figures passed. I thought I didn't know what I was going to do. But if my mom passed, I would probably lose it. You would probably have to find you and a co-host for that weekend.
Right. Oh, I understand. I truly understand.
And we have on with us this week my line brother, Patrick Perry. And this is our Sigma-versary. Happy birthday, LB. Oh, he's on the line, but PP, you're not muted. You there, Frat? Well, he's there. Maybe he put the phone down. But Kels, this is our Sigma-versary.
Before we start, there he is.
This is our Sigma-versary. This is the night that we crossed, and April 6th is the day that we shut Valley's campus down and created a Black College Experience moment for myself and my LB.
Are you there, Patrick?
Well, he'll be back. He'll be back.
So tell us about. Yeah, before we start the show, tell us a little bit about that night, what you remember.
Oh, boy, I can't.
Because, you were young. You were good and young. So tell us a little bit. Take us back. Was it like 15,
probate
16?
Night.
How many years ago?
19 years. LB, you there?
Oh, Jesus.
You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Patrick,
you now.
you can call this phone. We know you've been a Sigma for almost 40 years. Come on this phone so we can talk about it.
Not 40, 19.
That's what he's saying.
Well,
so that's what I'm saying. I want to hear this story. Y'all share this story.
It was 20 of us, and unfortunately, 3 of our LBs are in our Omega chapter and in heaven. Leonardo Hanna, Kelvin Stubbs, and Jason Bernard. I miss those guys greatly because we had a bond that no one could break. We had 20 different personalities create a line of Sigmas that I don't think no one has been able to touch since we shut down campus 19 years ago, LB.
Yeah, people think we be lying when we said that we shut down the campus. Like, literally, Valley changed the rules to the point that there could be no more daytime probate shows because nobody went to class after we closed. Yeah. Oh, and no more whipped cream either.
Oh, boy. Well, all you got to, now, Kels, you can check out our probate show. It's shared on my page. And here's the thing. My no dancing, stepping behind was the only vote against that little show at the end. And PP, tell them about your worm, Frat.
Man, I'm surprised that, like, I don't know what made me do that, but hey, it was just something to stick out, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, people liked it. I guess this weekend, if you go and see it in the video, it actually got a crowd reaction. So hey,
yeah. So it's our Sigma-versary. You know, PP always shares that video, and I'm just glad that, you know, my frat brother Lucky was able to send me a copy of that video because I had been trying to find it for years. And David Winters had my probate show tape and never gave it back. Many a Sigma lost their probate show and step show tapes due to letting David Winters borrow their tape, Frat Winters borrow their tape, and not get it back. So
that dates us as well. Tape.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But yeah, that's our little moment in the sun. One of the highlights of my entire 4 years at Valley was becoming a member of Phi Beta Sigma. First, of course, graduating, getting my degree from an HBCU. But it was a moment in my Black college experience journey that I'll never forget. The bonds that I made, because I didn't know PP that well, but I knew a few of my line brothers. But a lot of guys, I didn't saw them around campus, but I didn't know them. Like I said, we were a collective of different personalities and strengths. You know, academics, athletes, quiet guys, you know, people who knew people. We were just such a collective talent, and it was just, we just handled it. Then the next line behind us was 21. Then I can't remember how many was on Dreadline, but at one point we were the largest chapter in the state of Mississippi. So we can claim that for our time, being a part of the Delta Phi chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated on the campus of Mississippi Valley State University, led by the incomparable Lester Smith, who was born on January 9th, born to be a Sigma. Yes, indeed. So we ready to rock and roll. That's got me over here nostalgic, kills. Got me over here remembering, you know, the little time where I was a party animal, I guess you could say. You know, very little of my life was spent to partying. But my Sigma years, you know, I could say that I kind of partied a little bit. You ain't got me on camera doing too much. They ain't got me on pictures and cameras doing too much that I can be incriminated against, you know, or picked on or made fun of, but I had fun. So, all right. So we ready to rock and roll, talk about sports, enough of our Sigma past. First off, I want to say congratulations to all the HBCUs that participated in postseason basketball tournaments. We're going to do a recap of the teams and their results. And we do have two HBCU teams still playing, Kels. And it's possible that those two HBCU teams could be finalists in a postseason basketball tournament. When have you ever heard of that in recent years, Kels?
I haven't, but I'm very, very, to say the least, Texas Southern has made a mark, and I said this the other day. Texas Southern is showing that they belong where they are. They are making a run, and it's against teams. Some of the teams are just like, okay. So Texas Southern is doing very well, to say the least, along with Hampton. Very proud of both teams, and you know, like you said, they could be finalists in either way, but they rallied from deficit. Texas Southern rallied from a 10-point deficit. I want to say that they came out and won that game. So it's very interesting again to see what they're doing. Same thing with Hampton. So we'll see where they end up. But two HBCUs still hanging in there. So regardless, we're always going to be cheering for both of those teams.
right? Just to run down their runs in the College Insider postseason tournament. Texas Southern has made it to the semifinal round with victories over New Orleans, University of New Orleans, 95-89 in overtime. Hampton defeated St. Francis Brooklyn 81-72. That's called the Coach John McClendon Classic. Let's see here. And then Texas Southern defeated UT Rio Grande Valley 94-85. Hampton then defeated Charleston Southern 73-67. The quarterfinals, Hampton defeated NJIT 82-70, and Texas Southern mounted a monumental comeback to defeat U of L Monroe in three overtimes, 108-102. And at one point during this tournament, Texas Southern only had 8 players playing, I think. And, you know, when you're playing against, I guess you could say, bigger teams, depth is an issue. But Texas Southern at one point was down to 8 players, but they have found a way to persevere. The semifinals will be on April 2nd, and Hampton would take on Marshall, and Texas Southern would take on Green Bay. And if the HBCUs reign supreme, the championship game will be Thursday, April 4th. I would love to see Hampton and Texas Southern battle it out for this tournament championship. That would be great for HBCUs around the country. To have 2 HBCUs, even though this is a smaller tournament, cannot compare to the, I guess you can say, prestige of the NCAA tournament. But you know what? It's a postseason tournament all the same. Money is put into it. Fans go to it. It has sponsors. And 2 HBCUs are trying to win the tournament, and they are in a position to win the tournament. Kels, talk about what that means to you if Texas Southern and Hampton can pull out these victories on the 2nd of April.
You know, on the side of talking about of Hampton, we'll take it to Hampton first. Talking about Hampton, you know, it was a lot of roar and a lot of grumble about Hampton leaving the conference in which they were in. It was a lot of roar of them leaving. And now that they have left and gone into the Big South, it seems that they're doing many things, and not only with the track and field, you got basketball. So it seems like this was like a really good move for them. It seems that things are really going their way. With the move, it wasn't a bad idea. As far as Texas Southern, it's almost like they're just picking right up where Coach Davis left off. They're just picking up and they're rolling. It's like they never missed a beat.
Yeah, Coach Jones is doing the do. Coach Jones is doing the do.
Absolutely. So it's like they just picked up right where Coach Davis left off, and they're just rolling. And a lot of times it's hard to make that adjustment when you have a new coach coming on board. But as we can see with your Texas Southern, with Jackson State's women's basketball, Southern's women's basketball, it seems that the transition was pretty fair, and that it got 2 teams with 2-year first head coaches to a championship. So, looking at Hampton and looking at Texas Southern, it's a good thing to see both of these HBCUs, and it's like they're going to be progressively not only getting better, but as we see as the time goes, just great things. If we see what Coach Jones is doing right now with them, it's only going to get better from here.
Right. And also, we have to give a note to Grambling. Grambling State University was also in this tournament. They lost in the first round to UT Rio Grande Valley, 74-73. So one field goal away from playing against Texas Southern in the second round. We would have had an all-SWAC matchup in a college postseason tournament. I don't think that's ever happened. I would have to research to see if that has ever happened. Don't ever think there's ever been an all-HBCU matchup or all-SWAC matchup in a postseason college tournament. I mean, that would have been history as well. Grambling a field goal away from defeating Rio Grande Valley, UT Rio Grande Valley, and matching up against Texas Southern. And that would have been something to see. Coach Jackson and Coach Jones battling it out in a postseason tournament like they did in the SWAC regular season.
Well, even last year where you had Texas Southern playing North Carolina Central. So,
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I guess every now and again, you might get something. And that was I think you called it the SWAC and MEAC battle on the hardwood or something.
Forgot about that.
So, yeah, I think that's what you called that. So just to even see that go down, it's like you get the best of both worlds, and you get to cheer for it. Either or. If one lose, you get to cheer for the other one. So it's not like it makes, that big of a difference. But, of course, now we're all SWAC bred. So, of course, we're going to be cheering for Texas Southern on this side. But when it all falls down, it's like, okay, whichever HBCU is going is the HBCU that's going.
Right. And also, Prairie Review failed in the NCAA first 4 game. So congratulations to Prairie View on a successful season following in the NCAA tournament. And on to the women on the SWAC side. And this is a game that me and you kind of bickered back and forth on. Southern University falling to the number 1 seed, Mississippi State Lady Bulldogs. And I have to say your Southern Lady Jaguars, they didn't just roll over and quit. They battled Mississippi State. The scoreboard doesn't really show that, but they battled Mississippi State. They didn't just let them get ahead and then try to battle back. They battled back against a very talented and battle-tested team in Mississippi State who just was on the verge of going to the Final Four, but they lost to Baylor 88-84. But the Southern Lady Jazz Kills, Coach Funches has them primed to continue what he and Coach Pugh did the past couple of years. I think he's going to reload, and Southern's going to be a force to reckon with in the SWAC next year.
It'll be interesting, to see. I do believe that not only will Southern be a force, but I also believe that Jackson State will be a team to look at as well. Seeing how they did, go to the championship. Sometimes it's really hard to tell, but I really believe a lot of these teams are on the rise, and we can see that as the sports change. But let's take a commercial break, and we'll come back to it.
All right, we'll be right back with more Black College Experience, recapping the HBCU postseason runs in basketball.
I already knew that I was going to go to college, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science. After that, I'm going to get my law degree. Then I'm going to come back to Detroit, boost the economy, become the mayor or something, try to make the situation better for other people. I feel like I owe it to the city. I'm determined. It's going to happen. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
All right, we're back with more Black College Experience. We were just recapping the SWAC women's participation in postseason tournaments. Up next, we had Prairie View falling to TCU in the women's NIT. So Coach Pugh, leaves Southern and takes the Prairie View to the WNIT. And they had a pretty good showing, but they just fell short to Texas Christian. Jumping over to the MEAC. Now, a team that shocked the number 1 ranked seed in their tournament, Norfolk State, upset Southern graduate Avery Johnson and the Alabama Crimson Tide in the men's NIT. Kills, talk about that game and when you saw how Norfolk State was able to.
Well, watching that game, we can always contest to it because we watch everything outside of just the conference. So I did. We called them the bullies of the MEAC. I called them the bullies of the MEAC the whole season because they pretty much shoved their weight around the MEAC this year. They did. They beat everybody outright, including North Carolina A&T. So they were just shutting everything down left and right, including the women. They were just stopping people. And so that's why, like the day of the game, I was like, this might easily be the case where they shut down Alabama, being that, no, they do. Say pure shooter John Petty that plays for Alabama. He's from Huntsville. We went to the same high school. Of course, he's much younger, but we went to the same high school. That's one of the people Avery recruited. So you look at some of those kids on that team, and the conversation was, people said, well, how can you get rid of him and he's taking you to the tournament 4 times? Or how can you get rid of him and X, Y, and Z? Well, here's the argument. from my understanding, last year he made $3 million. And the thing is, the coach that was before him, which I think was Coach Grant, they expected Coach Grant to get them to a certain place, and he couldn't get them over the hump. So then they bring in Avery, and Avery couldn't get them over the hump either. So now it's like it's time to make a change. In all honesty, we know that the reason that the change was made is because they lost to Norfolk. Like, we can just call it what it is. You lost to an HBCU, but instead of them just saying Norfolk had a good team, they said, oh, my God, Alabama blows it. Norfolk just had a good team. It sometimes, and that's how it appears, like Southern and Grambling, last year was just our year to win by U Classic. That's just the example I can use. Everybody had their season. Everybody had their year, so it was just their time to win that game. But even watching that game, just watching it, and I don't know if y'all watched it. I watched it that Wednesday, and I turned around and watched it again on Thursday. Just watching that game, they never let up. They never let up the whole time. So even when it got down to 5 seconds left in the game, and Norfolk had the ball but lost control of it, now Alabama has the ball. The guy takes the ball out. He gets back in. He fakes. He goes to shoot. He misses the layup. The game is over in overtime, 80-79. The best ending I saw in a long time for a game. I mean, it hurts to be Alabama, but great to be Norfolk.
Exactly. And, Kels, you know those one-point games are your heart stoppers. And, Derek Jameson Jr., had a game-high 25 points off the bench. He shot 7 for 13 from three-point land. And, they went on in the next round to face against Colorado. And unfortunately, Norfolk State's run ended. They lost 76-60, which ended Norfolk State's season, but not before a Black college experience memorizing moment in the NIT, defeating the number 1 seed Alabama Crimson Tide, and getting Avery Johnson relieved of his duties, who I immediately said, let's get him at Valley. Because, not the MP, we do now have a head coach opening at Mississippi Valley. And since we're on that, PP, what have you heard about the coaching change in the Delta?
Ooh, boy, it's a long time coming. I think if we would have went into the season with that guy as the coach again, it would have been a revolt, man. 'Cause, I mean, the record just says it all, man. I keep repeating the same old stat. He was 31 and 132.
Wow.
Nobody could have made any type of, and it's basketball. This ain't football when you can say, hey, resources. We got a new gym,
Brand new gym.
And the other, you can see with Grambling and Prairie View, they got coaches in there within their first year or two, and they had immediate turnaround.
Right.
Yet, he had 5 years to get his players in, and we never won no more than 6 games in the SWAC. So, I mean, come on now.
And this was the coach who took over for Coach Woods, correct?
No, this one they took over for Chico. And, they ran Chico off because that wasn't hit. It was, and just keep it real, that wasn't the guy that they wanted. So they just ran him off because of that stuff. That alleged domestic violence stuff. Mm-hmm. But, he was cleared of those charges. So,
right.
They just want to get rid of him.
So, that's a Southern Jaguar, Avery Johnson, now available. A lot of people think he's going to go back to the NBA. I would love to see him at Valley. I know Kels would be torn because that would be a great hire for Valley, but for him to come back and whoop up on his hometown, on his alma mater. Kels, what'd you think? Would you like to see Avery Johnson resurrect?
He can't even whoop up on Norfolk. Stop. He can't even whoop up on
Southern.
He can't even whoop up on the North. He can't just come whoop up on mine. But no, in hindsight, I would not. I do. And I think that's one thing that people, they really think when you go from school to school, they think it's a bad thing. And it is. It's always my wish that we could get Jerry Rice to get back to Valley to do something. But no, I would love nothing more. If he was to come to Valley, I think it's a revitalization to the school, to the program. So if you can get a name down there, do it. If you can get banned, whatever it is that's going on, all these different things, do it. Do it, because sometimes you just need the revitalization of the program. It is wholly my desire, my wish that every school in the SWAC can be competitive. All 10 of them. Every school can be competitive at some sport. Now, you don't have to be competitive in football. You don't have to be competitive then. You can be competitive in something else. But it is always my desire that every school, honestly, in the SWAC is competitive.
Right.
Not just one school, not just two schools, all the schools. We want everybody to succeed. Because I'm one of those people, I like to see different teams, even in pro sports. I like to see different teams go to the Super Bowl. I just do.
Well, we have an opening, and we did have a former guest, Coach Thomas Billups, who led Tougaloo to the Division II NCAA tournament, turned that Tougaloo program around. He was once a candidate for the Valley position. PP and some of our social media groups, people have been clamoring for an alum, and we have several Valley alums who have been doing well in coaching circles. I just want someone who's going to come in and bring excitement back to the program. Hell, if Strib want to come out of retirement again, I mean, I know he's, very, very old, but if he decided to just come back and be an ambassador daily with his suit game, I think that would bring excitement to Valley's program. I'm pretty sure he can still coach the game. He probably is enjoying retirement right now. But who would you like to see be our coach, LB? Or have you heard any rumors on potential names, or was it just too soon to call with the firing happening only a few days ago?
I just want somebody that, if you just said right now, I want somebody that got connections to Mississippi, similar to how we got the coach at football. Somebody got connections to Mississippi, and more importantly, somebody that want to be there. We know for a fact that the Valley alums, they want to be there, and we know that Coach Billups want to be there. If you get them that combination in there, there's no reason why Valley can't be competitive in basketball. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. But continuing with go ahead.
And then when you talking about with the other opening, I mean, there's no reason why it can't be just as competitive as the other jobs that are open, HBCU jobs, Howard, UMass, and it can't. There's no reason why it can't be as competitive as those other jobs.
I agree with you. And speaking of Howard was in the Roman CBI tournament, and they fell in the first round to Coastal Carolina. And like PP just said, they do have a coaching vacancy now, and that's actually on my things to discuss. But since you brought it up, Howard coach Kevin Nickelberry has resigned as the Howard head men's basketball coach. So we have an opening. Howard has an opening. And you're right, LB. Our position should be just as competitive as Howard, because Valley does have a winning legacy in basketball, in the SWAC, and among HBCUs. So, you can win on the hardwood in Itta Bena. But continuing with our recap, jump back up here. All right. NCCU falls in NCAA tournament game. They fell to North Dakota State 78-74. They almost came back. They were down 40-34 in the first half, and they outscored North Dakota State 40-38, but it wasn't enough to fall 78-74. So congratulations to North Carolina Central. They represented the MEAC and HBCU well in this game. Just fell a little short on the women's side in the MEAC. Bethune-Cookman falls to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame has just been on a tear. And North Carolina A&T falls to James Madison in the women's NIT. And for in the GCAC with some GCAC teams also competing in postseason tournaments, as well as some Red River squads. Like I said, we try to cover all HBCUs as they compete across the landscape. In men's basketball, and this was a heartbreaker to me. I mean, the number 1 seed Tougaloo Bulldogs were upset by Mid-America Christian 73-64 in the NCAA Division II tournament. Talladega also fell to the University of Pikeville in the first round. I'm sorry, not NCAA, NAIA National Tournament. My apologies. They fell 69. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Wait. Make sure I have that right. Yeah, Talladega fell 69-65 to the University of Pikeville. So 2 talented teams had their postseason runs in early. I know everybody was shocked when Tougaloo was upset by Mid-America Christian, because when I saw Darius Rice, who was coached in high school by Thomas Billups, he was in utter disbelief that Tougaloo fell in this game because he, of course, knows how Coach Billups coaches, being coached and molded into a ACC All-American legend by Coach Billups at the high school level. He was very surprised that Tougaloo fell in this game. So, Kels, what do you think about Tougaloo's early exit from the NAIA tournament?
Tougaloo had a pretty good season, and to see that happen early on, it was, kind of take it as it comes, but you don't want to see it happen, but it's just one of those things you just had to deal with.
Yes. And on the women's side, let's see. On the women's side, Talladega made some noise in the first round. They defeated Menlo Cottage 65-49, and in the second round, they fell to the 2 seed Campbellsville University 74-66. So congratulations to the GCAC teams on their tournament participation. In men's basketball, Stillman fell to Oklahoma City University at 101-84. That was in the 32-team NAIA Division I men's basketball tournament as well. Stillman was ranked as high as number 6, so that is an upset, Kels. We had some HBCUs highly ranked going into this tournament, and unfortunately, our highly ranked HBCUs weren't able to win and keep going. So what do you think about Stillman's defeat to Oklahoma City University? And just, I guess, to piggyback on Tougaloo, who's also a 1 seed.
What was the score?
They lost, let me pull it back up here, 101-84.
Well, that kind of, okay, so that kind of just shows that it was a rally. They tried, and it wasn't a blowout. So, let's go back to, even when you looked at, you talk about Southern, you talk about Mississippi State, you talk about playing the number 1 seed. That was a blowout. That was a blowout game.
Yeah, but the Jags didn't quit.
That was a blowout game. It was a blowout, but, you look at that game, 20 points is a blowout versus 40 to 60 points. That's a blowout. So I don't think it's that bad. But I also believe what's happening is more of our universities are showing in HBCU athletics that we can compete. We're showing more and more that we can compete with these bigger schools, and that we won't just lay down. Now, for us, it's time to wear our pride on our chest, and it's a boasting moment. For them, it's embarrassment. So they book us, they schedule us, per se, when they think, oh, this is just a quote-unquote practice game. Then when we beat them, then it's, oh, okay, we're not scheduling y'all no more. Y'all not going to be invited back next year. That's how it rolls. But for us, it's bragging rights. For them, it's practice. And then if they lose, it's, oh, you can't come back. But it is. It's showing that we are able to play on bigger platforms.
I agree with you. And, I'm very proud of the representation of HBCUs in the postseason tournaments around the country and all the divisions and all the conferences, because that shows you that, just because we're HBCUs, we may not be the powerhouses like UConn on the women's basketball or Duke and men's basketball, but we can play some basketball. And our athletes may not make it to the NBA all the time, but guess what? They're going overseas and making money playing overseas, lengthening their careers. So even though the NBA may shun our stars, overseas is not. Europe is not. HBCU players are being signed weekly over there. So even though the NBA may not give our guys much of a chance to make millions, you can earn a great living and travel the world playing overseas. So that's an option for our HBCU stars. For guys like the young man from Norfolk State, who's a senior, who shows on a big stage he can play ball against an SEC foe, a middling SEC foe, but still an SEC foe. So he's going to make himself some money overseas once he graduates from Norfolk State. So now that we're done with our wrap up as far as basketball, we have some Coach Award news. HBCUs in the hunt for that's the wrong one. 6 HBCU head coaches named for the Ben Jobe Award finalists. Now, Kels, there is so much Southern University history across all athletics as far as great coaches. A lot of people look at Grambling as having one of the greatest coaches of all time, and Coach Eddie Robinson. But Southern University is not slacking as far as legendary head coaches. You had a head coach named to the Black College Hall of Fame this year. And this is an award that is awarded to the minority head coach across all conferences, and is named after a former Southern University coach, the Ben Jobe Award. He was a head coach at Southern University for 12 seasons. His record at Southern was 209 wins versus 141 losses, and included 4 NCAA tournament appearances. He coached the Jaguars to 1 NIT appearance, 5 SEAC championships, 11 SWAC titles, and 2 NAIA tournament championships. Perhaps his most memorable moment as a coach was Southern's 93-78 win over Georgia Tech in the first round of the 1993 NCAA tournament. Was that the Bobby Fields team, Kels? I think that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're Jaguars, Kels. I mean, y'all can be named as head coach, great legacy school as well. I know I said that wrong, but you know what I'm going at. You know what I'm saying?
I do. We do, and I think in each of these schools, and I think that's where, and I'm one of those people. I love, when I say I love old history when it comes to Black college sports. I love some old history, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. I love old Black college sports because you can actually look down the line and you can look at your Coach Jobes and you can look at your Eddie Robinsons, and then you can look at your athletes and you can go back and look at what our HBCUs actually was pumping out and how, we know now coaches ain't staying for 30, 40, 50 years. We know that's not happening now. First thing we get the extra dollars, we gone. That's just how the ball rolls. But we had those coaches that were actually there. They were actually putting in the nights, the mornings, doing everything they could for those kids, and just bringing out. And it was nothing for. It was nothing for those teams to actually go to championship. Like now, you might see the same team, you might see your Grambling go to, win a game. Then you might see Alcorn win a game. Then Alcorn might win it back to back to back. But back then, we would look at it like, shoot, back to back to back to back to back 10, 12 times. You're like, God, this is just the team. So I like to always go back to those moments to see what we had back then. And so often I wish that we could rewind those times and get back to those championship days for all schools.
Yes, indeed. And here's the thing, since this award is named after an HBCU legend, you know what? I was just going to read down the 6 HBCU coaches, but I can't now being that this award is named after an HBCU legend, gotta run down all the award finalists, and they have some names on this list. Tommy Amaker, Harvard; Jeremy Beller, FIU; Johnny Dawkins, UCF. Team almost came close to defeating Duke. Travis DeQueer, Montana; Patrick Ewing, Georgetown. We all know Patrick Ewing, what he did in the NBA and what he's doing now for his alma mater at Georgetown. Jason Gardner, IUPUI; Earl Grant, Charleston; Leonard Hamilton, Florida State; Penny Hardaway, Memphis; Lou Hill, UT Grand Valley; Michael Hugo, Bowling Green; Ron Hunter, Georgia State; Justin Houston, Fresno State; Dante Jackson, Grambling, HBCU; James Jones, Yale, almost led his team to an upset of LSU in the NCAA tournament. Johnny Jones, Texas Southern, HBCU, team vying for a CBI championship. Mike Jones, Radford; Robert Jones, Norfolk State, HBCU; Jay Joyner, North Carolina A&T, HBCU; Dave Littau, DePaul; Richard McKay, Liberty; Robert McCullum, Florida A&M, I just want to say FAMU, HBCU; Richie Riley, South Alabama; Kelvin Sampson, Houston; and Byron Smith, Prairie View A&M. A couple other coaches could also be on that list. NCCU's head coach could be on there. Hampton's head coach could be on there for the way his team has performed this year. But all these coaches, I'm not going to lie, I hope an HBCU coach wins. I would love to have an HBCU coach win an award named for an HBCU legend, an HBCU coaching legend. So this is an award that I think we need to publicize more because of its significance to HBCU basketball coaching legacy, Kels.
I agree.
And I'm going to have to look and see if there's a women's award named after an HBCU player as well. This is going to help me study and learn more about the awards that are given out, because if you look at a lot of the awards, the Walter Payton Award, the Jerry Rice Award, a lot of those award winners don't come from HBCUs, but they're named for HBCU legends. So we have made our mark on athletics. And just to throw that in there, for everybody to know, HBCUs have made their mark on athletics. So you better recognize and choose our athletes to represent you and pay them the millions that they can help you earn with wins and championships. All right, so up next, well, let's take a commercial break before we jump into the next sport I want to talk about, which is going to be bowling. Then we're going to jump into spring sports to round out tonight's show. And we'll be right back in about 25 seconds with more Black College Experience.
Are you interested in attending an historically Black college or university? Hello, my name is Robert Mason. I'm president and founder of the Common Black College application. Our application allows you to apply to any number of 44 historically Black colleges and universities at the same time for only $35. So visit our website at www.commonblackcollegeapp.com to apply now. Thank you, and get educated.
We're back with more Black College Experience, and one sport that I love to see HBCUs participate in is bowling. I'm not the best bowler. I will go bowling from time to time. Kels, can you bowl?
You know what's so funny? Don't you laugh at me. I'm taking my little. So I mentor Big Dude for Big Brothers Big Sisters. I'm actually taking my little bowling on this upcoming Friday. So people don't know I'm a girly girl. Even though we do sports, I'm a girly girl. I still get nails done and stuff. So when it comes to bowling, I have to watch my nails. That's my thing. I have to watch my nails. So to make sure that my nails are short. I have a cousin that's from Detroit, and they were actually in bowling league. Like, they used to bowl for a living. But, I do enough to get by, but I'm not an extreme bowler now.
What about you, LB?
I haven't bowled since I left Valley. Like, where they had the bowling alley on campus, I haven't bowled since then.
Wait a minute. You know what? People are going to question whether or not I actually went to Valley. And here's the thing. I guess these were just two things I didn't do. For the longest time, I did not know we had a swimming pool in the gym, because I didn't really hang out there except for basketball games or step shows. I didn't know we had a bowling alley on campus because I didn't bowl much back then. So, that just shows you, we have facilities at HBCUs, where you can have a good experience, you can bowl recreationally, you can swim. So you can get education at HBCUs. Just using it as a little free advertising for our HBCUs because a lot of people may not think that an HBCU will have facilities like that on their campuses. We do. So, consider our HBCUs, consider SWAC, MEAC, CIAA, SEAC, independent HBCUs across the country because we need athletes, we need students, and we want to help you reach your academic and athletic goals. So, now back on task, bowling. All right, in the SWAC, the SWAC championship was decided. Prairie View versus Jackson State defeated Jackson State to claim the SWAC Women's Bowling Tournament Championship. In the MEAC, Maryland Eastern Shore wins the 2019 MEAC Bowling Championship, defeating North Carolina A&T. And in the CIAA, Bowie State, one of my favorite CIAA schools, defeated Fayetteville State. I'm sorry. Yeah, they defeated Fayetteville State for the 5th straight CIAA bowling title. And what this does, it qualifies these HBCUs to participate in the NCAA Bowling Championship. So 3 HBCUs will compete next month. And of course, there are the aforementioned schools, Bowie State University, Prairie View A&M, and Maryland Eastern Shore, are all in the 12-team field after winning their respective conference championships. And the bowling championship isn't broken down by divisions like most NCAA sports. Hence, all of division schools compete for the same title, which means we're going up against bigger schools like other schools that have bowling championships teams. And we're going to read off, this is the draw on April 5th. The host institution will be Prairie View at Emerald Bowl, and they will play against Stephen F. Austin. So come on out and support Prairie View. If you're an HBCU alum in Houston, Texas, doesn't matter if you went to Prairie View, come out and support Prairie View as they vie for an NCAA championship. Also, the host school, Maryland Eastern Shore in Millsboro, Delaware, at the venue Millsboro Lanes, they will take on HBCU foe Bowie State. So we're going to have 2 HBCUs vying against each other, playing against each other to compete in the NCAA Bowling Championship. And that's the end of our HBCU participation. The last host school institution is the Mid-America Conference in Whitcliffe, Ohio at Roll House Whitcliffe. And that's going to be Arkansas State versus Medill. And the other championship matchup also at Maryland Eastern Shore's host venue will be Sacred Heart versus Caldwell. So good luck to the HBCU squads that are vying for a bowling championship. I would love to see one of our HBCU squads win that championship. Kels, PP, Kels, you first. What do you think about the HBCU's chances at coming out on top in the bowling championship where they need to knock down those pins to secure victory?
I think it's very, very well possible. Bowling is one of those other sports too that it's kind of like basketball. It's not like football, so it's a different skill. And I think they stand a good chance. It's not like they got like some extra pins or something in a PWI or in these other conferences. They're like they got a heavier ball. So I mean, it's all fair game. It's all fair game.
PP?
Yeah, I mean, people don't know that Maryland Eastern Shore, they have multiple national titles within the past 10 years. So that's a sport that HBCUs do very well in. It regularly make the at least to the Final Four, to the national title. Whereas with Eastern Shore, they won 3 national titles in the past decade. So
yes, indeed. All right. Now we have a little football news. We know teams are starting out spring football. Your Jaguars, Kels, had their spring game yesterday. And, from what I'm hearing, the team looked very well. Of course, you can't really, gauge a season performance based on the spring. But you know what? Your Jaguars hadn't really had a chance to participate in spring practice over the past couple of years. So Coach Odom's getting a chance to really see what his team can do in the spring rather than the fall. And that's going to help your Jags returning that athletic quarterback that, led y'all to a Bayou Classic victory over Grambling. So what do you think about your Jags prepping for the start of another football season?
I think we're gonna do fine this year. Looking at what we recruited, looking at what we picked up during signing day is very exciting. On top of that, being signed ends up being number one in the recruiting class is even more exciting. We've seen what Skelton did last year, so and he's just sophomore. So excited to see what this season is going to be like on the pickup. It's always, in any case, no matter the school, no matter what you did the year before, you start over, and you always have the first game or so to kind of get her first game, 1, 2, 3 games or so to knock off the dust. But nevertheless, I'm excited for him.
Yes. And since we're talking about Bowie State, we have some Bowie State news. And Kels, you know who I'm about to talk about. My favorite HBCU quarterback, Amir Hall, had an impressive pro day, and there are individual workouts coming. Amir Hall broke so many records, 2-time Black College National Player of the Year, yet he was not invited to the Combine this past year. And when he played in that postseason college all-star game, Mike Tice only allowed him to throw the ball one time, and I think that was a miscarriage of justice against Amir Hall's chances at possibly getting a chance at the NFL. Yeah, we know we got the AAF, which is in trouble. We know we got the XFL coming back, but Amir Hall has a goal of reaching the NFL, and he started his post-career, I guess you can say, trail on that. His pro day, let's see, he ran a 4.69 time in the 40-yard dash, which would have tied in for 5th best time in the 2019 NFL draft. He had a 32.5-inch vertical leap and a 10.4 broad jump. And we already know he can throw the football. We know what he did for Bowie State the past couple of years. There were some other invites, some other athletes at the Bowie State Pro Day. BSU receiver Lasana Cisse ran a 4.56 in the 40-yard dash, and he had a 9-inch broad jump. Former Alabama safety Karan Ramsey showed up. He ran the 40-yard dash at a 4.49 and had a 10.1 broad jump and an impressive 34.5 impressive vertical jump. Another school that had a pro day but was not on their campus was Winston-Salem State. They went across the street to share in the opportunity of Wake Forest Pro Day, and we had some standouts. 3 former WSU stars showed up and showed out, and just want to recap their experiences. Patrick Green ran a 4.5 40-yard dash. That's unofficial, so it's probably putting a 4.5 and 4.6 40-yard dash. Good time for a linebacker. He had a 9.9 broad jump, and he came from the FBS, played in East Carolina. Running back Kerryon Moore ran the 40 in the 4.445 range, had a vertical leap of 31 inches. He also put up 16 bench press reps of 225. He had 7 reps on his first set, but his hand slipped, so they let him do it again. Now, this was impressive. Defensive tackle Tyron Roberts, a 6'3", 300-pound stud, put up 30 kills, count them 30 reps on the bench press. That would put him top 5, I think, for defensive tackles. You had one offensive line, I think, that did 39. I can't remember that guy's name. But 30 reps. You know what? He has the strength to compete, so that's going to turn some eyes. He ran a 5-second 40-yard dash and had a 29-inch vertical leap. So when you can bench press 225 pounds 30 times, that's going to open some eyes for scouts, Kels.
I agree.
So, and also in football news, we have a head coach name, and it's Tim Bowens has been named the new head football coach at Clark Atlanta. So the Tim Bowens era will get started. And he's going to be trying to get Clark Atlanta back on track in the CIAA. I'm sorry, in the SEAC. He's a former football player at the University of Alabama, and he has been veteran of Division I assistant football coach in the Sun Belt Conference, the Southern Conference, and Conference USA. This is his first head coaching job. And, you know, he was a Georgia State assistant before he took this job, coach in charge of running backs. The Panthers had a school record of over 2,000 yards rushing and 21 touchdowns, so I'm pretty sure Clark Atlanta is going to focus on the ground game, with that being Bowens' offensive forte. But congratulations to Coach Bowens. I hope he has a successful tenure at Clark. You know, and Kells, I mean, with you being in the area, we might have to get him to come on the show and talk about how he's going to turn that Clark Atlanta program around.
And just to be on the ride, it's been a lot of changes over at Clark. There is another coaching change coming, or another coach coming on board. So I won't put that out there. I'll put that out there, but not put that out there. There is another coach coming on board in another sport. So just kind of be on the lookout for that as well.
All right. Before we get out of here, we need to hit baseball. So, Kells, we are ready to hit baseball before we get out of here. Jumping into the SWAC. This past weekend's games. Waiting for it to load. You have yours up, Kells?
I don't.
Okay, I'm just waiting for it to load for me. All right, I have it. This past weekend's games, and we are in SWAC play. Starting out on Saturday, UAPB defeated Texas Southern 14-2. I don't have a decision for the first game for Southern versus Prairie View, but your Jaguars defeated Prairie View in the nightcap 8-5. Alcorn State blows by Jackson State 18-4. Abilene Christian beats Grambling State 23-5. Alabama A&M defeats the Valley 6-2. Sunday's games. Texas Southern defeats UAPB 9-6. Grambling State defeats Abilene Christian 8-7. Alabama State blows by our Delta Devils 11-6. Jackson State gets revenge on Alcorn 13-1. And I don't have a score for your Jaguars game against Prairie View today at 1 o'clock. But, of course, we'll probably try to recap it next week. Tomorrow's games will be Selma University versus Alabama A&M, Alcorn State versus Tougaloo, Valley versus Northwestern State, Prairie View versus Texas A&M Corpus Christi, your Jaguars taking on Nicholls State, and Grambling State versus LSU. Now, before we jump over to softball, Kells, your Jaguars have a resurgence this season. After struggling the past couple of years, your Jaguars, Kells, lead the West with a 9-2 record. And Alabama State is leading the East with an 8-3 record. But Kells, I mean, we all know what Coach Roger Cater did for your Jaguars. He retired, had a new coach in, had a rough first year. But talk about what this turnaround in baseball means to your Southern Jaguars.
And you know, it's been funny. Yesterday we did. I think we won a game 2 and 3 yesterday against Prairie View, and then just recently it was 46 runs or something like that with Grambling. So seeing what Coach is doing right now. Very excited, and I think this is going to be a great year. We started out pretty strong, and we're hoping that we can continue this in baseball. But right now, looking really good.
Yes, indeed. And talking about softball, before we jump over to the MEAC, because we have a game we have to talk about in the MEAC. Scores from around the SWAC and softball. Jackson State defeats Alabama State 5-1. Texas Southern defeats Prairie View 9-8. Alabama State blows by Jackson State 12-1. Grambling State defeats Southern 3-1. Alcorn defeats Valley 7-6. Alabama State defeats Jackson State 13-11. Southern defeats Grambling 11-4. Alcorn State blanks Valley 4-0. Grambling State defeats Southern 5-2, and Alcorn State defeats Valley 4-3. All games, you know, kind of competitive. Had a few blowouts there. But jumping over to the MEAC, where before we got it, we have to talk about this. Kels, we had a monumental upset in the MEAC. North Carolina A&T defeats nationally ranked South Carolina Gamecocks 2-0. And normally in late games, HBCU teams normally falter to the more depth-laden, bigger schools, but North Carolina A&T was not having it. So South Carolina tried to change the game late in the game, but North Carolina A&T was able to get out and escape with a victory, which just had the South Carolina head coach just at a loss for words. This was a shocker. This defeat of South Carolina, just caused ripples around the world, which, the world of baseball, because in a Mississippi State group, they were talking about how Mississippi State beat Valley. And I was like, well, we hung in there. We scored 5 runs. We were sticking with them for a while. And then, of course, Mississippi State was able to pound us hard. But then I brought up this game because I said, HBCUs can play with ACC teams. So let's not look at this as that HBCU players can't stick with y'all. I said, and they were like, well, not Valley. I said, why not Valley? And why not North Carolina A&T as they defeat South Carolina? Kels, talk about what that upset means to HBCU baseball.
Well, the actual night it happened, of course, I was up that day that it happened, and I was keeping track of that. And not only did you beat them 2-0, you beat them at home. And that was the stinging part. You lost at home. And you're talking about a top team. And I think it's probably the next biggest shot next to when Bethune-Cookman beat Ohio State 10-4. I think it was 10-4. So it does show these guys are doing whatever they need to do to perform and win. And some people was like, oh, it's just 2. Well, 2-0 is 2-0. A L is a L and a W is a W.
Exactly.
I don't care if it was 1-0. They won. They won. And I'm proud of them. They won.
Right. And to recap the weekend's games in the MEAC, Coppin State defeats Norfolk State 12-6. Delaware State defeats Maryland Eastern Shore 6-2. North Carolina A&T defeats Savannah State 6-5. North Carolina Central defeats FAMU 9-8. Wichita State defeats Bethune-Cookman 11-4. North Carolina Central defeats FAMU 8-5, and Coppin State defeats Norfolk State 5-3. In women's softball, and then we can get ready to get out of here. Come on. All right, in women's softball this past weekend in the MEAC. All right. North Carolina Central blanks South Carolina State 3-0. Norfolk State blows by Maryland Eastern Shore 8-1. North Carolina A&T defeats Savannah State 8-1. Howard sweeps Delaware State 8-5 and then 6-4. Savannah State gets revenge on North Carolina A&T 3-1. North Carolina Central defeats South Carolina State 12-0. Norfolk State defeats Maryland Eastern Shore 10-0. Sunday's games, Norfolk State defeats Maryland Eastern Shore 7-3. Delaware State defeats Howard 9-2. And North Carolina A&T defeats Savannah State 4-2. That's all I have for softball. Kels, go ahead and close us out.
All right, so we are at the end of the show. Before we go, just to let you know, former Shaw University volleyball coach, now at Kentucky State, Coach Goree is going to be here for a tournament this weekend. So I am going to meet up with her.
Awesome.
She's coming to Atlanta. So I am going to meet up with her. And I would be remiss if I did not mention, I set out a challenge and I set out a campaign this week. And when I tell y'all I'm so overwhelmed with emotions at this moment, at this date, this point in time. I set out on a mission to raise $300 for scholarships for Black college experience. I can tell you right now we're going towards $700 at this moment. So awesome. I am. When I tell you I have never been so overwhelmed with emotions and the people that support and the people that actually believe in what we're doing and the people that understand the importance of not only HBCU athletics but the importance of our institutions, the importance of us giving back, the importance of us pouring into these students and telling our stories, it has been overwhelming. And just to hear people say, we see what you're doing, we're paying attention, we're watching, we're very happy, we're excited to be a part of, even if it's $5, even if it's $20, even if it's $50. Just thank you to everybody that has supported the actual vision of Black College Experience. Patrick, I can't tell you enough. I can't talk about you enough. I can't brag about you enough. Every weekend, day in, day out, you're here every Sunday. Every Sunday you're here. You're calling in. You're the third person.
Right.
You're the third co-host. You're the other co-host. Every weekend you're calling in. Thank you so much for being a part of the vision. Thank you so much for feeding into it and spreading the word. I see the retweets. I do. We appreciate you so much for being a part of the vision. Now, I'm going to look for y'all video to resurface somewhere on the internet this week. Don't y'all think I done forgot. I'm going to be looking forward.
Well, it's on my Facebook. It's on my Facebook. Just go look at it.
Let me go on over there and look back. That's the show. We'll be back next week. Y'all have a good night.
Good night, everybody. Make sure you tune in next week for more Black College Experience. Have a good night.
Good night.
Shutterstock Music.